I've dug a little deeper in in the deep substrate, if you will, and discovered some things about bacteria and fungus and the importance of their activity in creating a tank that allows plants to grow successfully. And so much so that the plant will then begin actually feeding the soil. So I'll try to get this together. I talked about it a little bit last night with AJ, but I really need to do a video on it. It's it makes the case as to the importance of a living aquarium. And my working title is your aquarium dead or alive?
Mhm.
Because it's really significant. So many people are convinced their aquarium should be dead, and by dead they mean sterile.
Sterile.
And that's what sterile is. Sterile is dead. Sterile does not allow any life to go on it. So if you've got a sterile tank and you want fish to live in it, you're fooling yourself. They can't. It's a sterile environment. It's an environment that is not friendly to life. It is very unfriendly to life, and that, of course, includes your fish. Fish will not live in a sterile environment, not for very long. They require being surrounded by life, as does all life. Life requires a living environment in order to survive. Life cannot survive in a dead or an inert or a non-living environment, and your aquarium is very much a part of that system. So any shop owner who's telling you you need to sterilize everything doesn't really understand anything about how to keep an aquarium alive and healthy. And so they should be ignored. In point of fact, they need to be they need to be brought up sharply for their ignorance and
They need to be schooled.
their lack of understanding of the nature of life, and particularly of fish. Fish are not objects, they're living organisms, and they require a certain kind of environment that really is extremely simple environment to establish and maintain. There really is nothing easier. It's more difficult to try to maintain a sterile environment than to try to maintain a healthy environment. There are only a few basic things you need to do. And that's part of what this new video gets into is what those things are and how the tank, if you provide the basics, how that system will nurture them and bring them to a place where they will be usable. So we'll try to get that done in the next day or two. I think it's really critical, and I think it's going to help a lot of people understand why they need to do the kinds of things we've been talking about in terms of adding supplements, for example. Supplements are an absolute key to plants being able to do photosynthesis, that is, to grow. Without photosynthesis, a plant cannot grow. and it requires certain things in a certain form in order to be able to make that work. But the aquarium, while it doesn't create the elements, it creates the form of the elements. So once you're set up, all you really need to do is watch it happen.
Right.
Rub the
Just like,
scale, clean, clean, clean. Yeah, the bunny
yeah,
viper, clean, clean,
I,
clean.
I
Yeah,
remember that, like dreading. It's like I'd look at my aquarium, it'd have a little algae on it or whatever, and the gravel would have the fruity pebble gravel would have algae on it.
yeah,
We'd take it all out, scrub it, put it back, and then half the time your fish would die. But what I would think the problem was is I let it go too long without cleaning it, and then my fish didn't like the clean aquarium. But that's not what it was at all.
right, right. Yeah, the whole notion of cleaning an aquarium is so counterintuitive to what we need to be doing. We should never clean an aquarium.